by Yongye about the Assassin's Creed situation. He's gonna talk about it probably. Lore recap. Assassin's Creed, the video game franchise where for years, maybe decades at this point, everyone has asked, please make a game in Japan. It would be so cool. It would be so cool. Full transparency here, the last Assassin's Creed I was interested in is Black Flag. I was slightly interested in Valhalla, because of course I was. It's Valhalla. But I never got around to it because a lot of people said that it's like literally the most stereotypical RPG formula ever. Which, by the way, is a whole nother problem. Why is every single game now that shouldn't be an RPG, an RPG? Why do people have 3,000 health? It's not Assassin's Creed if they have health bars. And like other weird stuff. Well, I mean, Assassin's Creed had health bars. I don't like RPG heavy games where there shouldn't be RPG elements. And this comes from someone, my favorite genre are RPGs. But there are games that don't need to be RPGs. Just saying. Okay, let's watch this.
Finally know what the official name of Assassin's Creed Red is. This is the Assassin's Creed game that's going to take place in Japan. It is officially called Assassin's Creed Shadows. We got a cinematic trailer, and as you can see from likes to dislikes ratio, there are some aspects of it that people are...
Just quick note, this is not accurate. Dislikes are still removed. This is using a extension for YouTube. So it's not accurate, but it's relatively accurate.
Are divided about. So there are 3 videos of this worth watching. There is the world premiere trailer. There is this right here, who are Naoe and Yasuke, the 2 protagonists of this game. Also, likes to dislikes ratio, not great. And we have Assassin's Creed Shadows Explained, which, again, likes to dislikes ratio wise. There's certainly quite a bit of division. Let's talk about...
One important note. What you might have noticed is that none of those trailers were gameplay trailers. There is not a single second of the game actually shown. Welcome to gaming in 2024, where we're gonna make fancy trailers that don't show the game. We're gonna pour in probably millions of dollars into producing like these high-budget CGI trailers for a game and not show gameplay.
Why these trailers are being negatively received. There's the aspect of the bold choice of one of the protagonists that definitely plays a role, but to me the greater issue is anti-consumer aspects of how this game is being sold and monetized. I think that to me is what should be the focus. But in terms of what's going on with the protagonist, well, you've got a Japanese woman here, Naoe, who is a shinobi character. And then we got Yasuke here, who is an African man who ended up in Japan, who is a samurai, and he is the other protagonist. And there's arguments as to whether an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan should feature an African character when so many previous Assassin's Creed games feature protagonists who are native to the culture that the game is representing. Now, important to note about Yasuke is that he is a real historical figure. He is someone from Africa. It is believed to be Mozambique specifically, who ended up in Japan and happened to serve under none other than...
I saw a lot of people obviously very, very angry about this on the internet. Apparently he's a very real dude, and it's like actually surprisingly accurate in terms of how they've portrayed everything thus far. I don't know enough about it, but I honestly don't even really care, to be honest.
Nobunaga himself as a retainer, but there are arguments as
like
to
Assassin's
whether
Creed.
a retainer is technically a samurai, and if Yasuke should be represented as a samurai. Now, I'm no historian, so I cannot tell you for sure either way, but plenty of historians or people who know Japanese history seem to insist that being a retainer to Nobunaga does make you a samurai, and that Yasuke did serve in that aspect. There's also actually a lot of media that have featured Yasuke, like the TV series called Yasuke that is being streamed on Netflix. You got Afro Samurai, which was inspired by Yasuke, even though we also have the well-known series Afro Samurai from Takashi Okazaki, which was inspired by Yasuke. Yasuke has also been featured in a number of video games like Neo, for example. There is this character named the Obsidian Samurai who is very much just Yasuke, and he was made into a character for this game. Yasuke was also made playable in the video game Samurai Warriors 5. Then in the fighting video game Guilty Gear, you've got this character named Nagori Yuki, who very much looks like an African samurai, and he was inspired by Yasuke. So yeah, he's been featured in a lot more media than you might think, especially in Japanese media.
What bothers me the most is that people are talking about this, and not the fact that it's It costs $130.
There's a list here of some of the work that he's been featured in on Wikipedia.
In an Assassin's Creed game, by the
quite
way.
The sort of outlier, obviously, in that era of Japan. And Ubisoft decided to lean into that character, make him a protagonist, and that's an aspect that's causing rifts and divisions among people who believe that, I think both of these characters should have been Japanese or whatever. I personally, to be honest, don't care. I think it's a bold and interesting choice.
Same.
And whether I like this decision or not will obviously just depend on the execution, what they do with the character. If they make a good story and have good character moments and a good character arc, and it all ties in.
It's like with this sort of stuff that is like based in historical, I think there's a very fine line between like respecting the true history and also like drawing on the history just because it's interesting. Like with stuff like mythology, obviously people are a lot more loose with it. Like Attack on Titan is based in Norse mythology, but it's really not. Like a lot of it is clearly a rip from Norse mythology, but like it's also really not, and people don't care because that's mythology. With history, it's a bit more dubious because like I've always thought that using these quasi-historical settings is still really, really cool because it gets more people interested in the real history. So personally, I'm not really bothered by it being super accurate because at the end of the day, if I find it interesting, I'm going to look into the actual history behind all of it, So I don't know. It's like a very, very weird case because I think there are instances where you could say doing this sort of quasi-historical thing, but making changes to it is like going in there and sort of changing their own thing, It is a bit weird, like changing their history. But that's not the case here. I'm talking purely in hypotheticals. And like, it's exactly as you're saying. And this is an Assassin's Creed game. This is an Assassin's Creed game where there's a secret order of Templars and whatever else. Like, are we really going to get stuck up on the facts? And like the Apple of Eden and whatever else? Like, come on.
Into a good theme, and all of it is combined with good gameplay, and it all just comes together in a package that's just good and tells a good story. And this character feels like there's purpose to being chosen as a protagonist of this game. Then great. This is different from what I was expecting, but that makes it all the more intriguing. It makes me more curious about what they do with this, and if they can take that thing that is so unexpected and make it into something compelling, then I'm all for that prospect and possibility. In terms of historical accuracy, I don't know. Again, I'm no historian, but also Assassin's Creed isn't really known for its historical accuracy. Like when you think about how Ubisoft...
I wonder if this is like a cultural thing. Because I'm from Latvia. Latvia is a very, very small country. Whenever I see Latvia mentioned in any context, I'm immediately Latvia mentioned. I don't care if it's accurate. I don't care if it's a one-off thing. You know how many movies have said that someone is from Latvia and they're not speaking Latvian? I don't care because Latvia was mentioned. They like get a dude who's talking like, I don't know. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I remember there are so many movies. It's like, oh yeah, he's from Latvia and he's not talking in Latvian because it's just like Latvia is a random country in Northern Europe that they can toss in there as like a remote country, but it's not accurate. But I don't care because it was mentioned. It's still cool.
Utilizes a lot of famous historical figures throughout the Assassin's Creed games. It's kind of nuts and very inaccurate to real-world history. Assassin's Creed has always been historical fiction, dramatized, romanticized, exaggerated, and way out there. So I'll be honest, I don't really look for historical accuracy in an Assassin's Creed game.
And
like
real.
There are historical elements that they try to obviously ground and retain, but in terms of the stuff that happens in between certain key historical beats, Ubisoft just kind of makes it all up, and it's all just fiction and pseudo-history. So, I don't know. That's my stance on that.
Exactly. It takes historical elements and makes them fun. Because if you really wanted a historical game, you'd be miserable. Like, I'm sorry to say, history is miserable. None of history is fun. You think you have it bad now? Think of the times when you couldn't even take a shower for like a month. It's like of all the things to get mad about, historical accuracy in Assassin's Creed. I'm glad that
Me,
it's
this
not
is not the
historically
thing
accurate in
that
many ways.
concerns me in any way, shape, or form. I'll have to wait and see how they execute with these two characters. If you want to know more about the game in terms of the details of its story, setting, gameplay, and open world elements and whatnot, there are two IGN articles covering Assassin's Creed Shadows extensively. This one right here titled Assassin's Creed Shadows Inside Ubisoft's Ambitious Open World Japan. That kind of has this whole article.
Ubisoft ambitious open world game.
Covering an interview that they did with the developers. And we got this article right here, Assassin's Creed Shadows, 40 details you need to know, that has a bullet list and a really well organized kind of list of information highlighting some of the key learnings that we got from IGN's coverage of this game. So that's there for you to partake in if you so desire. Now let's talk about the thing that I think is much more worth scrutinizing. It's, of course, the numerous editions that they're selling for Assassin's Creed Shadows. We got editions that go all the way up to 100.
And we're going to talk about historical accuracy when they're selling a game that costs $130.
$130. If this seems familiar,
If GTA 6 came out and it cost $130, I would think twice. I would.
to you, that's because they're doing exactly the same thing with Star Wars Outlaws. As for what these editions get you, well, for the standard edition that costs $70, you get the base game, and you have to pre-order if you want to get one of the game's missions.
Which, by the way, let me put this in clearer terms, because this is something that marketing does a lot. It's called framing, right? It's literally glass half full, glass half empty type of vibe, right? So let's look at this. You get the base game. Good, you get the base game, but hold on. Pre-order bonus. Let me put this differently. This is content that has already been developed. It is ready for you to play, but you're not going to get it. This is not a bonus. You're paying to access something that you should have access to. Let's look at this more. A single-player game with a season pass. 3 days early. Also known as you're not going to play 3 days late. This is not 3 days early. The game is ready. If people are playing the game 3 days earlier, it's ready to be played. You're not accessing it earlier. You're going to be accessing it late. An ultimate oh my god.
As you can see right here, one of the pre-order bonuses is that you get an Assassin's Creed Shadows bonus quest thrown to the dogs. So already,
and the thing with this, the best thing about this is regardless of which like side you argue, it's still bad. If this quest changes nothing, it's really bad business. If you've made a quest that means nothing and put it behind a paywall, it's still bad. If this quest is really good, it's equally bad because it's behind a paywall. An arbitrary paywall that should be in the base game. It's bad regardless of how you swing it. And it's hilariously bad.
we're getting locked content if you...
This is not continuous development. This is not like an expansion coming later. This is a thing that has already been developed for the game.
You don't order the game before it comes out. And what's egregious about these pre-orders going up right now is that we still have not seen gameplay of Assassin's Creed Shadows. They've shown off this CGI cinematic, and all of the Assassin's Creed CGI cinematics look great, and they always get you hyped up, but they're...
Is there a single CGI cinematic in 2024 that doesn't look good? Like, I think technology is advanced enough that, like, most people can... Most big companies, obviously, not like indie games. Most big companies can make really, really good-looking trailers.
They're seldom representative of actual gameplay. The actual game, for me, always tends to be a little underwhelming and nowhere near as epic and as enticing as the CGI trailers make them be. So I always wait for gameplay trailers before making decisions or before kind of deciding whether I'm excited for this game or not.
There are very, very, very few games. To be completely clear, I still haven't pre-ordered even the Elden Ring expansion, even though I'm gonna play it day one. I probably will pre-order it, right? But I haven't. There are very, very few companies with whom I trust to pre-order their stuff. I don't understand why people pre-order anything. It's not gonna run out. The internet's not gonna go down. They're not gonna run out of gigabytes. Like, nothing bad's gonna happen if you don't pre-order it. You could just buy it when it comes out. It's not like toilet paper in 2020.
Or not, to see Ubisoft put up pre-orders for editions that go from $70 to $130 while having showed off zero gameplay, nothing about how the game.
Which, by the way, I'm talking about this from a consumer perspective. Talking from a business perspective, you know what we call this? Price discrimination. It's very, very good. It's very, very good. You create a very nice ladder that people can just choose where they're going to pay. You're still meeting the demand, right? Because it's a downward sloping function. So you're still going to meet all the demand, but you can get more money out of people who will give you more money. It's pretty good.
Actually looks and plays, that is already a big red flag. No pun intended. And on top of that, the fact that in order to access another quest that is a part of this season pass, as you can see right here, the Assassin's Creed Shadow Season Pass includes a bonus quest on day one.
And note the wording. 2 upcoming expansions. Not DLCs, expansions. What is an expansion? It implies something big. Is it going to be big? I don't know.
With additional unlockable content as well as 2 upcoming expansions. The fact that you have to purchase this $110 edition, that's $40 more than the base game, to gain access to a quest that's ready, that is available on day one, that they are artificially deciding to paywall and lock behind this edition that includes a season pass, that gets the blood boiling. That is straight up unacceptable, and a practice that Ubisoft is trying to normalize more and more, that I would not like to see normalized. We're not talking about little bits of cosmetics. We're actually talking about gameplay content. We're talking about full quests, and regardless of whether these are substantial quests or insubstantial quests.
Exactly. It's exactly what I said. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is. It's bad regardless of how you look at it.
In both scenarios, it looks bad, because
exactly.
if these quests are substantial and give you some good rewards.
What a smart man. What a smart man.
Then you're paywalling good content that's ready for day one behind either paying more money or ordering the game before you really know what the game even is. And if it's insubstantial quests that are not that big of a deal, then you're kind of devaluing the fact that you're paying $40 more for a gold edition of the game. And just on principle, it doesn't matter whether the quests feel substantial or not. It's content that should be readily.
Yeah, I see you mentioning Baldur's Gate 3, like pre-ordering Baldur's Gate. I feel like Baldur's Gate is a very, very different case, though, because that was, like, actively being developed, you know? Like, with this, the game is ready. Like, you could literally play the game, but the whole 3 days early thing, you just can't, you know? With Baldur's Gate, you could actually, you're not, like, really pre-ordering game, you're buying the game in an early state. Like, you sort of can call it pre-ordering, but you're not really. You're buying a product that is just not ready yet, with the promise that it will be ready. It's a bit different, in my mind anyway. Like, buying early access games, I think there, you're agreeing that you're potentially going to be losing that money. And I think that's fine. I think buying early access games is totally fine. There are a lot of early access games that I've put more hours into than any AAA game. So,
available for everyone. If you pay the base price, you should have all the in-game content available, especially where it's concerning gameplay affecting stuff, where it's concerning activities that you do in the game. And then, of course, we've got the 3 days early access.
Which, by the way, imagine just making a business model where you could sell a complete game, right? And let's say you're going to release a deluxe edition that costs $80, and in that deluxe edition, you're going to say, we're going to release an expansion later, right? You can buy it now. You don't have to buy it now. It's fine. And then when the expansion comes out, instead of being like extra $20, it's $30. So technically, you're going to pre-order the game, you're going to get the expansion later, and you technically get a slight discount on the expansion. But all of that content is being developed long in advance. And like, if you really, really like the game, you can choose to buy the expansion in advance as well. I would still say it's pretty bad, but like with something like Elden Ring, there you could at least sort of make an argument for that. Locking content that is already in the game behind a paywall, that's when I get mad. Because you bought the game.
That is only included with the $110 and the $130.
And, by the way, we're talking about this, but Let's not beat around the bush. The only thing they're trying to do is they're trying to get you on the subscription service. Like, they don't really care about this. Well, they do, but they don't really. Because if they get you on the subscription service, well, they got you. They got you real good.
Edition. What this really means is that the only way to play this game on time and not 3 days late is to pay $40 to $60 more than.
This is by the way, we talked about this a long time ago. I think Hogwarts Legacy made this industry standard. I think that was Hogwarts Legacy that solidified this. Hogwarts Legacy wasn't the first one to do this, but I believe Hogwarts Legacy's player count peaked during those early 3 days access thing, which is mind-boggling to me. Because that means most people pre-ordered the game just to get in early. And I'll say it right now. World of Warcraft is doing the same thing. World of Warcraft, an MMO, a single-player game playing early, who cares? A game that is, at its core, fundamentally a social game doing this, you are destroying your own game. It's really, really bad. It's really, really bad. You shouldn't do it. And you shouldn't buy it. You shouldn't buy it at all.
The $70 base game price. That's, I think, where more of the discussion should.
I say that. It's industry standard for a reason. And it's not going away. It's not. I don't think it's ever going to be more than 3 days, but I think this 3 days thing is here to stay. And I think the best part about the 3 days early thing is that they can sell a version for like $80 with some random stuff. But if they sell a version for $100 that includes those 3 days early thing, they're gonna get like you to climb that one extra step because you want to get the game early. So like the 3 days early thing is the end goal, but they can add a small step in between to sort of make the illusion that there is another thing in between. If you wanna hear my honest take about this, I think GTA 6 is gonna do the same exact thing. I think GTA 6 will have a pre-order bonus with 3 days early access. Probably online money as well. Probably.
Should be
we'll find out soon.
Because those are just objectively anti-consumer bad decisions that, if successful, Ubisoft might push more and more.
They will.
As they've done with other monetization tactics, as they've done with other anti-consumer practices. And you can see that this is because
the 3 days early thing is the ultimate thing that targets like the casual gamers. Because like talking about a pre-order bonus, a season pass, a new skin, an extra mission, that's kind of complex for someone that knows nothing about games. But playing the game you want to play early? Sign me up. It's very simple. Why not? You know, like if you play one game every 3 months, of course I want to play it 3 days early. Why not? And that's why I think it's never going to go away. Because I think it's found its niche in a completely new audience, basically. The audience that is not exposed to like general video game discourse, and one that like they're a lot less price sensitive, I guess is the way to put it.
Becoming a trend for all of their major releases. Here is the chart for Star Wars Outlaws. It's exactly the same scheme. $70, $110, $130. You got the 3 days early access. You've got a season pass that straight up just locks a quest behind it. The Jabba's Gambit exclusive mission is available at launch for those who spend money to get this edition with the season pass. And then beyond that, with Assassin's Creed Shadows specifically, the $130 Ultimate Edition includes this ultimate pack that is straight up a little bit pay to win because it gives you just five.
And again, the best part about this, if it is pay to win, it's bad. It's just bad game design. It's bad to lock stuff in a single player game behind pay to win. It's bad. If it's not pay to win, it's still bad because you've sold something that means nothing and created this illusion that it's going to be important, but it's not. It's still bad. It's like
5 skill points on top of all of these, you know, cosmetic elements and bits and pieces of gears and weapon sets and whatnot. You're taking something that could be really exciting for a lot of people and staining it with elements that kind of give the efforts of the developers unnecessary negative PR that make people question and doubt whether this is a game that they should engage with, whether this is something that they should support. And it sucks because I am rooting for Assassin's Creed Shadows to be good. It's, you know, again, very bold what they did by choosing Yasuke as the protagonist, and I think it could potentially be interesting if executed well. I want this to be a big step forward for the Assassin's Creed franchise, which has felt kind of stale, if I'm being honest.
I think every single Ubisoft games felt literally the same exact way, and all of them are bad. The last Far Cry I cared about was 4. I think 5 was pretty bad. 6 was horrible. Far Cry 6 is probably the biggest disappointment I've had in a very, very long time. It's a lie, actually, but one of the disappointments. And I think the same goes for every single every single Assassin's Creed game. And I think the problem at its core is itemization and the fact that they've made everything into an RPG. And I think in a game like Far Cry that is particularly noticeable. Like, I'm sorry, guns should not have levels. Like, my gun shouldn't have a level. And my gun shouldn't have rarities. I shouldn't be getting a purple version of a machine gun. It's not an MMO or Diablo. Like, it's not. Not every game needs to be an RPG. But the reason why it is an RPG is because they can sell you stuff on the store. Especially with, like, skins. They can sell you, like a legendary version of a rifle with slightly higher stats, and it's gonna look slightly different. And I hate that. Far Cry 3 and 4 are still the best ones. Everything else after that's really, really bad. And same goes for Black Flag. I think everything after Black Flag, like, leans more and more into the direction of just being like an action RPG, and I don't like that. Do you really play all of them? I've played a little bit of most of them.
The open world design to improve. I
haven't played Valhalla, because I saw it was kind of mid. I think the last one I really played was Origins, I think?
The characters here to really shine with the arcs that they go through for this story. I want the assassination gameplay to feel as good as it did in some of the older Assassin's Creed games and make me feel powerful as an assassin. And I also hope that the warrior samurai gameplay offers a combat system that is in line with some of the more renowned open world action adventure games. I do wish this game the best, and I hope that it dispels how kind of burnt out I've become about Assassin's Creed games. Having this age, having the Japanese setting that's been so requested for so long, that alone I think is going to get a lot of people excited and curious about this game. And I just need to see gameplay first before I decide whether...
You know the thing I'm looking forward to most? The soundtrack. The soundtrack for all these games is good. They just have a good soundtrack team. That's the thing I'm looking forward to most. Not gonna lie.
Or I'm excited about this or not. But man, these kinds of monetization tactics, on top of the fact that Assassin's Creed Shadows is yet another major AAA release that requires an online connection if you want to install the game, even if you own the physical edition, even if you own the disc, you need to download a patch that essentially activates the game for the game to be...
That has to be like an anti-piracy measure, right? It has to be. Like, if you buy the disc and you need to download a patch to unlock the disc, it's got to be a piracy measure. That's the only thing I can think of.
Playable, and so that means that ways in the future, if servers are deactivated and you want to feel secure about you owning the physical copy, it doesn't really serve you much, because every time you install the game and you want to reinstall it, you need to download that patch that may...
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, because, like, you're not unlocking it, you're gonna have to... Oh, yeah. That's like the worst of both worlds. You've made this game that's not a live service game, but you require a small component of live service. Oh, yeah, that's even worse.
May become unavailable if servers go down. So in terms of game preservation, that defeats the whole purpose of you owning a physical edition that's supposed to give you...
Which, but I think we're in an era where game preservation isn't like a thing we need to worry about anymore, honestly. Because I think, like, the servers issue and, like, the live service model is obviously a big problem, but I think fundamentally games are being preserved, like, extremely well nowadays. Like, there was this horrifying statistic that, like, a ridiculous number of games have literally been lost to time, and they will never be properly recovered. They just no longer exist. I think that's not going to happen anymore. The live service issue is obviously very, very big, because you just can't play the game. But as long as you can spin up some sort of, like, peer-to-peer connection or something like that and play these games, I think it's fine. The problem is most can't. I know that there's the big YouTube initiative to change laws in the EU, I believe, about this stuff. About, like, live service games ending. I think it was started with the whole racing game.
some security about a product that you hope will be preserved for the long term. Now, Ubisoft had to clarify that the game does not require a persistent online connection for you to play. It's just that you do need that one-time online connection to install the game and install that patch that enables the game, whether it's the digital or physical edition. But it doesn't change the fact that this trend sucks. Star Wars Outlaws is doing the same thing. Even the physical edition will require an online connection to install. And Ubisoft also did exactly the same thing with their last major release, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. And it's just like all these little things that keep adding up and piling up that they're making mandatory for every major AAA release that I want to be excited for. But then Ubisoft comes in with their corporate shenanigans that just makes me feel more...
Like, that's so funny. Corporate shenanigans. I think that's the best way to phrase it. It's just, you know, a little bit of corporate shenanigans.
Apprehensive about supporting their games and their practices, even though I know the developers are putting their hearts and souls into these games and trying to make...
Yeah, like, believe me, no one at Ubisoft, no one at Blizzard, no one at, what was it, Avalanche Studios, none of them want the game to have a 3 days early thing. They want to see millions of people playing the game at the same time on day one and it being like mini Christmas. Can you imagine being a game developer and releasing this game you've been working on for like 7 years or something? It's literally Christmas morning. And then freaking corporate comes in. No, we're actually going to spread up Christmas. It's literally going to be like... Oh no, you know what? I'm not even going to say that, but it's really, really bad. Like, it's this spread up thing. You're not even going to get to experience the whole thing. You're going to get a little bit early on and then 3 days later. It's really bad.
Make them as good as possible within the time frame and environment that they're being given, and I'm rooting for these games to be good and to push Ubisoft game design forward, but it's hard to become excited about each major release and not be cautious about them when Ubisoft is always pulling this kind of stuff that gives unnecessary negative PR that just feels really petty when they could just be releasing awesome AAA games without all these like real...
I find it so funny that the winning strategy, like Elden Ring won Game of the Year, right? That's a winning strategy. Steam is easily the best service, and they're doing nothing. The winning strategy in the year 2024 is just making the product. Period. You're just making the product, and that is the winning strategy. And no one's doing it. It's kind of sad.
Really shitty caveats. And so yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows going down that path of including some of those anti-consumer elements that people have already complained about with Star Wars Outlaws and with Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. That's also a big part of why these trailers are getting disliked. People in general are just not being very receptive to Ubisoft shenanigans, and it's sort of a form of protest and sending a message that Ubisoft needs to, you know, chill out. But in terms...
I don't think anything's gonna change. Because I think, first of all, a majority of those dislikes are from people who never thought about buying the game, never going to buy the game. Number two, the early day access thing, like I said, I think it's targeting a segment of consumers that are not even on the internet, like, broadly speaking. I don't think it's ever going away. I think it's just going to keep getting worse. I think there will come a point where, like, it's going to be sort of a straw that breaks the camel's back situation. And then people will stop buying them. I don't know what that's going to be, because I thought we reached that point like 10 times over. But people keep buying this stuff. People just keep buying this stuff. Like World of Warcraft at this point, I remember when they put in the first store mounts and everything, people were really, really mad. Now Blizzard is just putting stuff on the store, no one cares. It is a subscription-based game with a like bi-yearly expansion cost. A literal subscription service-based game, where you already are buying a full-priced expansion, with, by the way, also tiers. So you could potentially be buying an expansion for like 100-something euro, plus 13 euro every month, and it still has microtransactions. Like, how much worse can you get than that? And no one cares anymore. I think it's a boiling the frog situation, and it's only going to get worse. So savor those small bits of Elden Ring whenever you get them.
Terms of how Assassin's Creed Shadows will turn out, whether it's an Assassin's Creed game that will...
I think, I'm going to keep pausing before we finish the video. I think this is why AA games and indie games are popping off. I think this is why they are popping off big time. Because they are, first of all, tools are getting infinitely better. And again, I know a lot of people say AI bad. Whenever AI gets incorporated into coding more and incorporated more into like game development more, we're already seeing this with the Unreal Engine. Like a lot of what Unreal does, like those procedural generation, that's AI. That is AI, right? I think indie games will pop off even more because like the barrier to entry will become smaller and smaller and smaller to the point of a indie developer with a good vision will be able to make a game that looks AAA. I don't want to use Baldur's Gate as an example because that's like a real outlier, but there are lots of games that are incredible in quality, but they're indie games, you know. And a lot of the games recently that have been popping off are all indie games as well, like Pal World. What was the what's it called? Enshrouded was another one that popped off. A couple of years ago, Valheim popped off. A lot of these games are small studios. A lot of like deck builders as well. Yeah, Hades is another one. Bastion is another one. A lot of these games are popping off that are like really, really small studios. And that's what I mean. Like Deep Rock Galactic is still going strong. There are a lot of these games, but is what I'm getting at. And I think all of that just comes with technology. And I think there'll just come a point where you can no longer justify pouring this much money into these like 10-year-long dev cycles. Whereas with an indie studio, first of all, they're agile. Like, think about it this way. With the technology we're getting now, right? Can you imagine a game with a 8-year dev cycle starting today? Can you even imagine what that game would look like? If we think about like all these voice models and everything coming in terms of AI. Because I think if you started developing a game today and released it in 8 years, it would be massively outdated. It would be like really, really bad. An indie developer, on the other hand, can spin up a small project within the space of like a year, you know? And at that point, like, if you're going to be spending 8 years on something, it's going to cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, it's a lost cause, you know? Window Kill is the coolest game I played last year, and it was one dude, and it cost $5. That's most games I've played. I haven't bought a AAA game in a very long time. What's the last AAA game I bought? I don't even know. I'm probably forgetting something. Because the thing that immediately comes to mind is like... Because most of the stuff I play in my day-to-day, it's indie games. Like, I play Risk of Rain. I play Deep Rock Galactic all the time. Diablo 4 doesn't count because I bought it with WoW Gold. I didn't buy Diablo 4. I just used gold. I haven't bought a single Blizzard product in like, I don't know how many years. I haven't given Blizzard actual money in so long, it's almost funny to me. So that doesn't count. I didn't spend money on Diablo. Nor have I spent money on WoW expansions. I'm probably forgetting something that I bought relatively recently, but I don't really buy a lot of AAA games for the simple reason of I don't think like the AAA market is really doing new stuff. I feel like all the like the indie games are really pushing the market forward in terms of like new concepts and everything. Again, like all the stuff that has popped off recently, like Lethal Company, all these games, they're small games because a AAA company just can't make that kind of game. And you know what I think the perfect example of this is? Blizzard canceling their survival game. Blizzard spent like, what, 5 years developing a literal survival game. The genre that is most known. Like, do you remember the survival game boom of like 2012? Because I do. Everyone was making a survival game. Everyone is still making a survival game. And a freaking however many billion-dollar company develops a survival game for 5 years and cancels it? How does that even happen? This is a genre that is dominated by indies. And that's what I mean. Like, these AAA companies are simply not agile enough to develop games that, like, really push the envelope forward. They can make the ultimate experience in a small niche, but I don't think they're going to come up with anything new. I think it's literally as simple as that. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Reignite my passion for the series, whether it's going to be a big step forward for the franchise and IP and all these things, that remains to be seen. I'm not going to judge anything until I see gameplay and get my hands on the game.
Which, by the way, if the game comes out and is good, it's good. Is it going to have like a few things that are really, really bad? Yeah, but if the game's good, that's good. You should support the game. If the game is good, buy the base game. Simple as that. Don't give them any more money, though. But buy the base game, play the base game. If you think it's worth it, play it. Just don't pre-order it. Look at reviews. Just hear what people have to say and then play it. And the best part, if you buy it on Steam, You can play it for 2 hours and refund it. Once again, Steam the GOAT.
And I hope that their choice of protagonists ultimately pans out and that they tell a good story with them and there's like good purpose and intention behind these choices and that they become just compelling and memorable characters. You know, I wish them the best on that front. But in terms of what the corporate level stuff is doing, it's just classic Ubisoft. Well, at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Assassin's Creed Shadows, what they've shown so far with the CGI trailer, and all of the information that's out there, what you think of the game and the protagonists and the monetization practices surrounding the game. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
That was a good video. Scam. Let's see what people are saying. Entire quests, more like Assassin's Creed. Very good. No matter how many dislikes Ubisoft gets there in the trailers, their greed will never come to an end. Yeah, that's the thing, and people keep paying for it. I think we lost the fight against DLCs years and years and years ago. I don't think it's ever like the genie's out of the bottle. You know, I think that's what I mean. Like, whenever like the Baldur's Gates comes out, the Elden Rings comes out, we should just support those practices, and that's it. I don't buy premium editions of games. I don't, because why would I? I don't need a flashy thing in the game. I want to play your game, and then move on. I hope that's what everyone did, but clearly they don't. Let me link the video. It's a good video by Young Yeah, as usual. A very goofy situation. I really, really wish more people were talking about the actual like money angle instead of the like the protagonist angle, which turns out to be like an actual historical thing. You know, it's not even that it's completely made up. I don't know though. I've never really understood that side of the argument anyway. But you know, if it comes out and it's good, because like I said, I love Black Flag. Black Flag is one of my favorite games. I love Black Flag. So if this is a game like Black Flag, like with a thematic strength, that was Black Flag, but set in Japan, I mean, it'd be really, really good. But, you know, if you're locking content behind a paywall, that's when things get kind of bad. Not 2? What do you mean? Assassin's Creed 2? I know a lot of people love the earlier games, but no. Black Flag is my favorite one, easily, of all the Assassin's Creeds. I know a lot of people love like Ezio and stuff, but nah. 4 is where it's at. I love pirates. Like, pirates is one of my favorite genres in media. It's the most watch Black Sails. Go and watch Black Sails right now. I think it's on Netflix now. Go and watch Black Sails. That is the best pirate show ever created. It's not even close. That's why no one's doing it. They already did it. They did the best one. Go and watch it. Like right now. Season 1 is a bit slow, but watch it. Like I said, I love pirates, so I love that game because it's thematically strong. And big surprise, it's not historically accurate. Imagine. So if it's the same thing with Japan, I'd love it. We just need more games like Outer Wilds. 7 years dev cycle, and I'd say it's more than any AAA game I've played besides. True. My brain got scrambled a little bit because, you know, there's Outer Worlds and Outer Wilds. Those are 2 different games. But yes. And Outer Wilds, I feel like, is a very good example of pushing the envelope forward. 3 friends and play Sea of Thieves. We've been talking about getting into Sea of Thieves, but, like, it has a few too many MMO elements, and I feel like we couldn't really commit to it, you know? We have thought about getting into Sea of Thieves a bunch of times, yeah. Because I would be down to play it, but we just kind of need a good group of pals to get into it. Because right now, like, all the games we play are, like, games you can just jump in and jump out. Those are really the types of games that I'm really vibing with right now. Like Risk of Rain, Deep Rock Galactic, that kind of stuff. You jump in, you play a game, it's very fun, and you'll leave. Like, big progression games right now are kind of just, not on the mind. Skull and Bones? We don't talk about Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, by the way, if you know the full story behind it, it had, like, government funding and stuff like that. The entire story behind Skull and Bones is hilarious. But yeah, like, this situation's bad. Like, just sell the game. Just sell the game, and that's it. It's really not that hard. You just make a good game, sell the game. Why can't you just do that? I want to give you money. Stop making it hard. Stop making it hard. That's all I'm asking for. My overlays are messed up again. That's sad.